Hello and welcome to another Royal Reviewer live weekly chat. And wow, well, it's always an amazing week. I don't know why I always say every single week it's been an amazing week. It always is with the royal family. So I'm going to go and find the chat window, which I always do. And I always tend to get it pre-open so that I can see you all straight away without any struggling. I can see, as always, the chat room has been very busy before I've even got here. I can see Angel, I can see Corey, I can see Jen, I can see Chris Jagger, who says, I'll be here if you need me. I will get to you very, very soon, don't worry. I can see Jen, I can see Duchess of Cambridge, not the real one, I might add. I wish it was the real Duchess of Cambridge. I can see Christine, hello to you. I can see Betsy. Sorry if you've asked a question before I've got here. I'm going to have to go to the bottom. So if you have asked a question that you want answered, then please repeat it. Let's have a look. I can see the first Mrs. R. Hello to you. I can see Melody. I think almost the whole gang is here. Just to let you guys know, because having a moderator in the chat room was so successful last week, we've decided to do it again. So Jamie is our moderator, and I think as soon as he arrives, he will be moderating the chat, the live chat stream. So this is a live chat stream that you can see if you're here live. If you're watching this show on catch up, you can't see the live chat, which is why I read out all the comments. So just a few ground rules. I think all the regular members know these rules anyway, but this is supposed to be a fun live chat. So please do get along. Please no swear words, no abuse towards other members, or else you will be asked to leave the chat or even blocked. So a little bit of a disclaimer. And this seemed to work really well last week as we had an amazing chat. So let's go to James Med for first. Oh, Duchess of Cambridge says you only see my face and not my voice. If you're having problems, please do refresh. Okay, James Med 4 says, Elliot, good evening. The Queen's blue ensemble. Yes, she did. She wore the blue ensemble, which we suggested in the last week's chat. Wow, I mean, this is probably the 5th week running, I think, where she has worn an outfit that we have suggested in this live chat. To me, that kind of confirms that somebody at the palace is watching this show, because we've had some pretty random outfit suggestions and she's worn them the week later. So I'm beginning to think that somebody is watching. So I think we'll run our little experiment one more time just to completely make sure. So I will be taking random outfit suggestions later on in the chat, so have a little think. The first Mrs. R says, I feel a bit like the rabbit from Alice in Wonderland. Why do you? Elaine says, first time ever, I cannot see or hear the chat. Please refresh. So if you can't hear me, I'm going to type it in. So refresh if you cannot hear. There you go. Okay, so I hope you can hear me. Darla K. Walt says, hello from Northern California. Hello to you. We are global. We have a global audience. Hello to Ohio from Ohio. And hello to Rob M. from Phoenix, Arizona. Vinny Blair says, hello. Hello to you too. And hello from Shanghai. I'm not sure we've had anyone from Shanghai before. The first Mrs. R says, wouldn't it be funny if the person suggesting it is the person who actually dresses her and knows in advance what colour she will be wearing? That would be true. It would indeed. Please let yourself be known if you're working at the palace and you're here. Hello to H.A. Bracken, and hello to Helene. And I'm fine, thank you. How are you? Now, I wanted to talk to you at the very, very top of the chat about something you all might be interested in. And this is where Chris comes in, because Chris contacted me a few weeks ago and told me that he'd written a new book. And of course, as you all know, I love anything royal. I love books about the royals. fiction books, fact books, history books about the royals, and he contacted me about a new book that he'd written. And I said, you know, if you'd like to kindly send me one, which he did, I would show it in the chat. Now, I received it today, so I haven't had chance to read the whole thing, so I can't give you a full review, but I can show you, and I can show you what I've seen. So, without further ado, here is the book which Chris very kindly sent to me. Oh, by the way, please do say hello to Chris. I know he's in the chat room tonight. It's by Chris Jagger. I hope you can all see. I'll just tilt it a bit just in case the light is obscuring it. And it's Chris worked for the Special Escort Group, otherwise known, referred to throughout the book as the SEG. So SEG, I think, is the correct shorthand of Special Escort Group. And basically it's the guys that sort of escort members of the royal family at important events or private, or basically a whole load of different things. The book is called Escorting the Monarch, and with the tagline, "We lead, others follow." And there's a foreword by His Royal Highness Prince Michael of Kent. And as you may have known, I also reviewed a book from the Princess Michael of Kent, which was about the cheetahs. So it's by Pen and Sword, and it's got history on it, and it's available on Amazon for $14.99. And I do believe that's global as well. And Chris is saying, yay, there's my book. Indeed it is, there's your book. And like I say, I've had a quick chance to have a quick look, and it does look, I have to say, very interesting. It's the sort of book that in years to come, when historians are writing about this time period, they will probably use as source material. And there's lots of people that have worked with monarchy that have written books. And again, I think with those kinds of books, this will become source material when they're writing really, you know, an objective view of our time in history. Because this is written by the people that were there. So I do think it's actually quite an important document of our history. It's set into different time periods as well. So, for example, it goes through the Special Escort Group from its conception through the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, the 80s and 90s, and kind of a prediction of the future. It also includes information about Princess Diana, the Princess of Wales, and how she was escorted, and Prince Charles. There are photographs inside as well. Lots and lots of photos, and some drawings as well. And there were even some letters that were printed from Prince Charles. I had a quick read of that one, and I think there was a note. There's a chapter about Diana too. So all in all, I do think once I've read this book, I think you can actually learn a lot of information from this book. So do let me know in the chat section below, and let Chris know if you think this is a really good book, and if you think you're likely to go out and order it, because I would suggest it. It does look like a really, really good read. I've got Marjor422 saying, hi Chris, cool book. So there you go, there's some good feedback straight away. Oh, by the way, I did have a look on Amazon. So far, because it's only just been out, there are no reviews. So please buy the book, read it, go on Amazon and review it. I think that would really help too. So I'm going to put the book on my little display over here. There you go, so that everybody, let's hope that balances, can see the book. And like I say, do go out and buy it. It seems like a really, really interesting read. And like I say, I think it's available worldwide as well. Elaine is saying, congratulations on your book, Chris. Nina is saying it looks interesting. I love this kind of book. Jen says, hello, Elliot. How are you doing? I'm fine, thank you. Christopher Daly says, please do review it. I will. Like I said, I only had it today, so I've not had a chance to read it all the way through. But once I've read it, I will do another proper full review on the book. I promise. And I'll let you know when I'm going to do that as well. Vinnie Blair says, I wonder if His Royal Highness is celebrating Thanksgiving with Meghan and her parents in LA. Do you know his diary for the weekend? I'm afraid I don't know his full diary for the weekend. I know Prince Charles is in Antigua and Barbuda over this weekend, but I'm not entirely sure about Prince Harry. Who knows? He could be doing Thanksgiving with Meghan if the plan is for Meghan to spend Christmas with Prince Harry and the royals at Sandringham. He could be spending Thanksgiving with Meghan and her family. That is definitely an option that could be on the cards. Okay, oh dear says, hi everyone, late again, out starting my Christmas shopping. I know it's only 5 weeks, can you believe it, until Christmas. I haven't, the moderators arrived, otherwise known as Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth. My God, I'm so late, sorry, wasn't looking at the time. You're 11 minutes late, Jamie, but don't worry. I have told everyone that this chat is going to be moderated because it worked so well last time and you did such a fantastic job. Jamie says, hope I didn't miss much. You missed a little bit. I was reviewing a book that I was sent by Chris Jagger, and we have Chris Jagger, the author, in the chat tonight. So if any of you guys do have any questions about the book, he's here. So please do ask away. Jen says, I haven't started mine yet. I don't. Some people like to leave it quite late. I think I start mine round about now. 5 weeks to go, I think, is a fairly good time to start Christmas shopping. I wonder what Prince Harry has bought for Meghan Markle. I know the Queen and the core royal family only like joke Christmas presents. For example, the Queen once received a pillow with "It's good to be Queen" on, and I think Princess Anne gave Prince Charles a leather lucite or something of that nature. So joke presents are highly on the list if you're a royal. The Duchess of Cambridge made chutney, which she enjoyed at the table. She does make a point of using these presents. So if you're a royal, exchange joke presents. Go to the joke shop. Duchess of Cambridge says, Elliot, Catherine's baby bump is growing so fast. That's generally what babies do, and it is. But she is looking really stylish with this pregnancy. I think she's cut her hair a little bit shorter. Lots of people in the comment section of the video saying whether they prefer her with longer hair or shorter hair. But you know, when you're having a baby and you've got 2 young children and 1 on the way, you probably want to spend less time doing your hair. So that's probably the reason why she's gone for a shorter do. James Medford says, if Harry is in LA, the Hollywood paparazzi will be making it known all over LA. He is quite good at being covert. And this is where actually Chris Jagger might come in to be able to help us. You know, if he may know how successful, I'm not entirely sure, because it may be more the police protection, but how easy is it for a royal to be very low key and discreet, for example, overseas like America? Yeah, I think he has been quite low-key before. On previous visits, we've only literally had perhaps a few shots of him getting out of a car, or even no photographs at all. You know, there's been times where we've known he's been there, but he has never been photographed. So do let me know if you know. James Medford says, question for Chris. What situation is the most difficult when escorting the Queen? Good question. I think Chris will be quite busy tonight answering your questions. So make the most of him. He's here. He's escorted the Queen and other royals and Princess Diana. Jamie says, what's the book called? It is called Escorting the Monarch. We Lead, Others Follow. And it's by Chris Jagger and it's available on Amazon. And I think I said $14.99 at the moment. Okay, can you hear me? I think the sound is moving. Okay, I think my sound bar is moving. So I'm hoping the sound is okay. I think it was more a problem with YouTube than me, although I did press a few buttons. You know what I'm like with technology. Okay, let me go back to the chat window. Okay, can you hear me? Okay, sound is back. Right, I think, let me go back to before the sound went, and then I can carry on talking. So, I'll read what Chris said, who said, "Hi James, keeping the escort low-key is difficult but very important in London. Disruption to traffic is not an option. Knock-on effect of slowing down the flow of traffic can last for hours." And I was saying that London is probably one of those cities that's very difficult with the traffic flow because it's not a very modern built route system. It's very old, lots of intersections, built on an old type route system, I suppose. So I'd imagine, you know, even a little bit of disruption could have a knock-on effect. And when there's any kind of royal movement, I'd imagine the key is to get them to where they need to be as quick as possible with as little disruption. Okay. Chris Jagger says, usually when escorting Her Majesty, there's as little as 4 motorcycles will be used. Wow. To be honest, I would have thought there would have been more. So there we go, we've learned something. Only 4 motorcycles when escorting the Queen. And of course, Chris will be party to all that really top secret information about the different secret routes that are used to transport the Queen to Windsor or to Sandringham if she's travelling by road, which I'm sure even if you ask, he probably won't be able to tell you, but he will know that information. Okay, I've got my tea. I hope you've all got your favourite drinks too. Hello to Sia Moon, who is back in. Sari says, I cannot wait to read. Now it's out, it's available. The first Mrs. R says, I have a question for Chris. Are there any special signals to let the escorts know if there is an issue with the royal in the car, or the route needs to be rerouted due to an emergency? Again, good question. Chris says, precision timing, elegance and minutes disruption, arriving exactly on time and not late or not early are obviously the key things. Duchess of Cambridge is going. Goodbye to you. I hope you have a fantastic week. Jamie says, yes, 3 motorbikes go ahead to stop by the roads and 1 stays in front of the car. And of course, there will be different formations as well, which I'm sure is in the book. Angel says, Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, does she talk with people online in the chat? The Queen Elizabeth you can see is actually our moderator. It's not the real Queen. But if the real Queen were to be here, I would love her to give us some kind of signal. Can you just imagine her sat in bed with an iPad watching this chat? That would be quite something. Spartacus the Great says, the Queen does have class when it comes to luxury 4x4s, i.e. her Range Rovers. She does indeed. And of course, she drives a Range Rover on her private estates, which we've seen the photographs of in some of my videos. Vinny says, I have seen motorcades in Germany with Her Majesty and cars. And you'll say, what's that all about? Maybe that was some kind of welcome, I'm thinking, maybe to a country. Angel says, yes, Queen Elizabeth, she is talking with people online in the chat. Not the real Queen Elizabeth, our Queen Elizabeth. Chris Jagger says, the officers know London inside out. Think of the knowledge of a London cab driver has. And of course, I watched a program on that, and they have to go through years and years and years of intense tests. It's called the knowledge, to be able to pass, to be a proper London cabbie. They decide the route as they move along. Many different things inform their choice of route as they move. So there could be lots of factors that come into play, I think is what Chris is saying. Jamie says, when does the Queen use a Range Rover with the Royal Standard? Well, Chris might know that one even more, actually. Duchess of Cambridge is back. Betsy says, I love Prince William's speech against cyberbullying. Yes, that was one of the things I wanted to talk about. Prince William this week has launched an internet campaign for anti-cyberbullying. And I made 2 videos on that, including his full speech. So do go and watch. Of course, cyberbullying is a big, big, big thing. It's, you know, one of the new ways that, you know, not very nice people can attack others because they can do it anonymously. And some people don't even understand that if they're sending a tweet, an abusive tweet, or an email or a message, or leaving a comment, that actually it's still abuse, it's still cyberbullying. And of course, I think Prince William wants to highlight that, make people more aware. And if he can in doing so, if he can try and change some people's attitudes, make people aware that also, you know, in lots of countries, then I think that's a really worthwhile cause to get behind. Jamie thinks my internet is very slow. I'm afraid I can't do anything about that if it's having problems. Betsy says my internet is wonky tonight. A wonky internet. I'm afraid I can't do anything about that. James Medford says, Chris, is it true Her Majesty does not like to fly in helicopters? Chris Jagger says, should we ask our host to read a short story from the book? Okay, if you want a short story, and Chris might know better which page actually to look at. Because like I say, I haven't had a chance to look through it all. I've only had it today. Short stories, which page would the short stories be? Oh, by the way, there's a piece about the funeral of Lord Mountbatten. Oh, I could read, I think I found a short story. There's one called Royals Aboard, and it's from the chapter the 1970s. I could read that one. Oh, Chris Jagger says page 86. Page 86, the Pope story. Okay, let me have a look. Okay, who wants to read the Pope's visit? I could read you a little bit of the Pope's visit. Okay, Chris is saying not true to his knowledge about the helicopters. So there we go. That could be a bit of fiction out there. The fact that the Queen doesn't like helicopters, so that's not technically true. The Queen might very well love helicopters, and I'm sure it's a very efficient way of travelling. Duchess of Cambridge says, Elliot, do you like Queen Elizabeth II as a monarch? Yes, I think she's one of the best in history. Or do I wish that William and Catherine would be the kings? No, I think the correct order should always be followed in the line of succession. And of course, after Queen Elizabeth, that will be Prince Charles, the Prince of Wales, who will be the next king. William and Catherine will get their turn. Duchess of Cambridge says, can I do a review about Catherine's tiaras? I think I did. I think I did one about so do go back and have a look at my back catalogue. Jamie says, I think I might get this book. I've always wanted to know that kind of stuff, and it's on your Christmas list. And Jamie's quite rightly saying she's 92. Which pope? Well, if I read it, we'll find out. It's in the chapter of the 1980s, so a pope from the 80s. Probably official cause. What a joke! Who is the world's biggest cyberbully? Hope Her Royal Highness doesn't collaborate. David Penn says, "Why am I plugging that book?" I'm plugging it because Chris Jagger very kindly sent it to me. It's a book that I'm kind of interested in. It's a royal book. I'm interested in the behind-the-scenes kind of information that you get from first-hand accounts of those who have been there. And also, it's something that I do actually want to read and give you a proper full review of once I've read the whole thing. But do you want the story about the Pope? Let me know. Odia says, reading a brief excerpt from the book would be nice. Chris Jagger says, Elliot, if you read the story about the Pope, stop at words were exchanged. Okay. Good tip. Okay, I'm going to read it. Okay. The Pope's visit. It's difficult to judge who would have been more shocked, the Pope or the two drunks with whom he unwittingly came face to face. Whatever the case, the meeting probably shouldn't have happened. Sitting having lunch in the canteen, a New Scotland Yard, an urgent message crackled through the radio. Immediate escort required for the Pope's convoy. The Pope had been taken ill whilst attending a reception and close to Victoria Station. We were told the Pope had left the reception and was now heading back to his residence, recalled one of the SEG officers, who had reacted to the radio message. Leaping on our bikes, we did what we could to catch up with his convoy. Eventually, we joined the vehicles in what was a less than desirable part of Battersea. And of course, Battersea is in London. The vehicles were parked up at the side of the road, outside a notoriously rough pub. We quickly discovered that the Pope's car had broken down, continued the officer. As we got off our bikes, we could see one of the protection officers transferring His Holiness to another vehicle. Now, which was the word you wanted me to stop at again? I forgot. Hang on. Words were exchanged, that's it. Where did I get to? Okay, we quickly discovered that the Pope's car had broken down, continued the officer. As we got off our bikes, we could see one of the protection officers transferring His Holiness to another vehicle. As the Pope stepped onto the curb, two drunken Irishmen staggered out of the pub to see what all the fuss was about, and clearly couldn't believe their eyes. Words were exchanged. So there we go. That's the sort of story and inside information you get from these little random visits and royal excursions or royal visits that you probably wouldn't get any information anywhere else from. So I think that's a really, really good read. I'm hoping the book will balance. There you go. Please stay. And yes, it was Jean-Paul II. Eileen says, will Camilla wear a different tiara when Charles becomes king? She will get access to all the tiaras the Queen has access to currently. So possibly, yes, she will be able to wear whichever tiara she wants. Betsy loved that little excerpt. Angel says, Queen Elizabeth II, she talks with the people online. Jamie says, as an Irishman, I think I have great insight into what kind of words were exchanged. They may have been crass. Nina says, now I have to get the book. David says, that seems like a good book. Will it be sold in stores? It's out now on Amazon. You could look in your local bookstore, but Amazon, is accessible to almost everyone, I can imagine. Chris Jagger says, Nina, if you search on the title of the book, you will find it on Amazon. There is also a very active Facebook page. There you go. I didn't know about the Facebook page. Okay, I said earlier about Queen's outfit predictions or suggestions. So do let me know and I will read them out. And if anybody is watching of any importance within the royal household, whether Her Majesty or Angela Kelly or any of the dressing team, then let your suggestions be known and we will see if the Queen wears any. Of course, the Queen on Sunday was at the Remembrance service at the Cenotaph. The changes that we were told about were implemented. The Queen did watch from the balcony of the Foreign Office, along with Camilla and Catherine, the Duchess of Cambridge, and Prince Philip. So they were all there. Sophie Wessex was also, there were several balconies, so the royals were kind of spaced out over the balconies. And there were also some in attendance. Prince Charles laid the Queen's wreath. He also laid his own wreath, and a query laid Prince Philip's wreath. So I didn't kind of know that Prince Charles was going to lay 2 wreaths. So that was a kind of information too. And on the day it was quite surprising. The ceremony went off without a hitch, so it seemed. So yeah, it was I think a really good modification to what the Queen does. Who wants her standing out there in the cold for that length of time? And this modification seemed to work, and I think it's one that will continue in the future too. And of course she got a chance to stand by Prince Philip, who is retired from royal duties but not from the big public or state occasions. Chris Jagger says his book is sold throughout bookshops in the UK, Waterstones, Smiths, etc. Chris Jagger says it will be released in the USA next year, but for now you can order it on Amazon or direct from the publisher. Jamie says, I want the pink outfit worn on the French state visit a few years ago, or her visit to France. So that's the pink outfit that the Queen wore on the French state visit a few years ago. So if anyone's watching, the pink outfit from the French state visit. Nina says, what about an autumn colour? Well, definitely, I mean, her clothing palette will change to more autumnal colours. Probably, you know, anytime now. I mean, she has still been wearing bright blues, but the colour palette will change, definitely. Jamie says, Chris, did you work for the Queen at one point? And Chris says, I worked for Her Majesty's government, so indirectly, yes. And of course, kind of the same with the protection officers. Protection officers are not directly employed by the royal family, they are employed by the state. So technically the royal family isn't their boss, the state is their boss. And that kind of helps the protection officer or the SEG officer to do their job without there being a bias, I suppose, or maybe a loyalty issue, as there is perhaps within the royal household staff. So it gives that separation and kind of gives the officer more clout, I suppose, to do their job effectively without bias, or without having to feel like they have to conform to anything to get ahead, because the royals are not technically their employer. Betsy says, does the Queen recycle outfits? Yes, she does. She has worn the same outfit on definitely more than one occasion. Her dressing team keep a log of what she wears and when, especially for public occasions or engagements. So for example, if she was to wear a specific outfit in Chelsea to do a royal engagement, they keep a log so that if she visited the same place or the same town or city, that she wouldn't wear that same outfit or even colour twice. So if she visited the West Midlands or Shropshire, where I am, if she wore blue, on the next visit she might wear yellow because it's logged that she wore blue. But she does recycle her outfits. But the big set piece occasions, she will probably have something new and designed by her in-house design team led by Angela Kelly. And that's another good book too. Angela Kelly, Dressing the Queen. So do search for that. Jamie says, Chris, do you have a brother called Mick? Mick Jagger. Wouldn't that be interesting? David Penner says, Chris, what is one thing that stands out during the service, meaning one event you enjoyed the most? So what did you enjoy the most out of all of your time being a SEG? Nita says, Elliot, also, could you do a live review about Scandinavian monarchy? I mean, sometimes I do touch on European monarchy. I did so in the summer holidays, a little bit. Because the British monarchy tends to keep me pretty tied up there. They're always doing something. Chris Jagger says, working with colleagues and belonging to an organisation with exceptional esprit de corps. So, in other words, a fantastic bunch of people who probably know exactly what they're doing, and probably the highest standard of recruits. In fact, I did manage to read in the book. There's a passage about recruiting and what type of person it takes to be a member of SEG, which seemed very interesting. Odia says it sounds an interesting read. James Medford says, Chris, can you tell us the type and length of training you go through? And I'd imagine, well, actually, I know that's in the book too. Vinny says, was Prince Philip really sitting on the balcony? I saw a YouTube video alleging that he was sitting and that sometimes he was leaning against a wall. I just couldn't see clearly. I think the bit that they're talking about is when he was walking away. He looked perhaps a little bit like he was leaning against something. I don't think he was leaning. The camera doesn't focus in that much throughout the service on the royal box. It only gives fleeting glances. So if he was, that may have been observed from somebody who was actually there in the street looking up. But from the TV perspective, I didn't see any of that. And I haven't seen any photographs of him leaning. So I'm going to have to tentatively say I don't think that's true. But when he was walking away from the ceremony, he did look perhaps a little bit like, you know, either he was really overcome with emotion, perhaps to stand or sit there and taking that length of time for the service in the cold. And of course, we know from first-hand accounts in the street that it was very windy, and maybe that accounted for the Queen's single-eyed tear as well. Marjor422 says, if a commemorative photo will be released on the Queen and Prince Philip's 70th wedding anniversary, what do you expect it will be? Well, we know that there are some stamps. Some stamps have been issued, and the photo used of the new photo, there are some older photos of when they were getting married, but in the new stamp, it was a photo taken from last year. Got it from this year. I'm hoping there will be one. There's no reason why there shouldn't be, but to be honest, I don't know what it will be. I'm not sure where it will be taken. You know, it could be Windsor, it could be Buckingham Palace, it could be Sandringham, it could have been taken in the summer in Balmoral. We just don't know. So I'm afraid I can't answer that one. Angel says, what is my colour? Do you mean what colour I think the Queen will wear? I would like the Queen to wear, I'm still going to go for some kind of like burnt orange. I would like to see her in burnt orange this week. Marjorie says, I want the whole family to be in the photo. That's probably unlikely, especially if it's celebrating their 70th wedding anniversary. It will possibly be a photo with just them two. Chris Jagger says, just to be clear, I was investigating organised crime. Your dad was a special escort group, and many of them are family friends. So that's how Chris was party to all the information. Joe Bob says, why did they make such a big deal about Prince Harry's beard during the remembrance ceremony. Like, it was one news reporter, and I think it was kind of irresponsible journalism, because she picked up on the fact that serving officers in uniform are expected to be clean shaven. Now, we know that Prince Harry was a serving member of the armed forces, but he's no longer serving. So therefore, he doesn't have to comply with the shaven face rules. So it was an issue that was blown up out of all proportion. And I think there was a little bit of a slander operation going on that weekend, saying that, you know, Prince William and Prince Harry weren't being respectful because they attended 2 rugby matches, and then Prince Harry with the beard. I think somebody that weekend had it in for them. And of course, Prince Harry didn't do anything wrong. He was perfectly allowed to have his beard. So yes, it was a big fuss out of nothing, and I think somebody had a very different agenda on their mind. Chris Jagger says, I am now a professor of intelligence and tech and teach privately at police academies, having studied the group for years. So there you go. Nina says, what an interesting job you had, and have now, I think, as well. Very interesting indeed. Luahari TV says, hello, I'm starting a blog channel. What do you think? What's it about? Angel says, you don't know it's the real Queen Elizabeth till she talked to people on chat. Well, I know that this Queen Elizabeth that we can see in this chat is Jamie. He's our moderator. If the Queen, the real Queen, were to be here, she's in disguise or being silent. Jobot says, I'm sorry, Remembrance Day ceremony. And I think I answered your question for that one. Jen says, because when you have saved, you're supposed to serve, you're supposed to be clean shaven. It's when you're an active service. I think when you've left, from what I gathered, it's okay to have your beard. Moonmom713 says, hello everyone, joining in late but glad to be here. Angel says, I do not know what Queen Elizabeth she talked to. The real Queen isn't here, it's Jamie. And Jamie does say, the Queen and Philip at the pond in Buckingham Palace. Is that where you think the photo will be? Interesting choice, and let's see if it's true. It would be so interesting if you were right. David Penner says, I remembered when Princess Diana's funeral, there was one commentator from the UK who seemed to think Prince William will become king. Exactly, he was thrilled about Prince William. Most definitely not. It will be Charles and then William. Nina says, Chris, what is your Facebook group called? I'm imagining the name of the book, probably. David Penner says, and wasn't enthusiastic towards Prince Charles. Why is this? I have no idea. I'm imagining that the commentator was ill-informed and ill-prepared. James Metaphor says, I like the plum colour in winter on the Queen. James Metaphor says, doesn't the Royal Navy allow beards? Yes, that is the one exception. The Royal Navy does indeed allow beards in ceremonial uniform. Angel says, you wish you could meet the Queen. I think we all do, and I would love to have tea with the Queen too. David Penner says, do British citizens like Prince William more than Prince Charles? There are polls about the royals taken all the time, and you know, lots of public opinion, if asked, probably would side with Prince William being king if they had a choice. But of course, it's not X Factor. You know, it's not Britain's Got Talent. It's not The Jungle. You can't vote who you want. That's what a monarchy is about. It's about having a line of succession, rules that you need to follow. If you don't have those rules, it ceases to be a monarchy, and it puts the monarchy in severe jeopardy. If you want to choose who is state, there are other systems around the world that allow you to do that. presidential systems. If you want a monarchy, it has to be hereditary, and it has to follow the line of succession, or else we will probably, or you don't want him to be king next. Think long and hard about if you want the monarchy to survive. And if you do want the monarchy to survive, you should be supporting Prince Charles being the next king, which is what he will be. Jamie says Charles has one of the lowest approval ratings. And Luhari TV says, what's my philosophy in life? That everything happens for a reason. And I don't know what that is in Latin. If someone can find that in Latin, let me know. Jamie says, Christopher, can you get the book in Eason's in Ireland? I'm imagining that's a bookshop or some kind of online store. Do let me know. Ohio says, the beard thing was so silly. I totally agree. Someone had an axe to grind. That was just an excuse. Totally agree. Jen says, where's those chocolate fingers? Well, since last week, I've had 2 boxes of chocolate fingers and I've eaten them all. I know I'm a greedy pig. So no chocolate fingers tonight. Betsy says, plum would be lovely on the Queen. Jamie says, the pregnant beavers ate them all. They did indeed. Joe Bot says, you'd love burnt orange too on the Queen. And yes, there was pictorial evidence that the pesky pregnant beavers ate my chocolate fingers. Nina says burnt orange or green. Jamie says, haven't seen burnt orange in a long time. Oh, one more suggestion that I would quite like for the Queen to rewear is the outfit she wore for the Scottish Borders engagement a couple of years ago now, I think. Was it last year or the year before? But anyway, the Scottish Borders outfit, it was blue, and it had a different colour blue trim. So if anyone's watching, try that outfit too. Cheryl Chung says, hello, do you think Prince Harry will shave his beard soon? What is the picture on your table behind you in front of the flowers? If you've joined late, it's a book that I was sent. It's Chris Jagger's Escorting the Monarch, and it's available now on Amazon, $14.99 currently. And I will do a proper full review once I've had time to read it. There's lots of short stories, and it's organised into the 70s, 80s, 90s. It's full of information. Do go and get it if you're interested, but I will do a proper full review soon. Jamie says, she wore plum very recently, so probably won't happen again. Kind of, yeah, true. Betsy says, I think Charles will be caring and hard-working king. I've said before, regardless of what regnal name he takes, I think he will be known as Charles the Conscientious, because he is very conscientious about the environment and lots of social issues. So I think, give him a shot. I do think he'll be a good king. Ohio says, I made a comment earlier about Prince Charles. Don't know if you saw it. If I haven't read it, probably not. You say, it's sad to see his visit to Antigua and Barbuda, and how different it is now compared to Harry's visit. And of course, they suffered one of the hurricanes that hit. And of course, they were, large parts of the island were completely destroyed. So Charles is visiting what the Antiguans and Barbudans are doing to restore their island. And I really wish, everyone that's been affected by those hurricanes in any of the islands in the Caribbean, I wish them all the best in rebuilding their lives, because I know, how devastating that might have been. I can only imagine, if my house was blown over in a hurricane, how I would feel. So for those that it's actually happened to, I wish them all the best, and my heart and my best wishes goes out to everyone who was affected and is now trying to rebuild their lives. And I think Prince Charles going there is really important to highlight, that the rebuilding is still going on. It wasn't just something that happened you know, in the past, in the not so distant past. It's something that's still going on. They're still rebuilding. They still need help. So I think it's really good that Charles has gone to highlight that. Luhari TV says, you should be working in TV. You have a good accent. Thank you. I hate the sound of my own voice. But thank you anyway. Ohio says, what are the rebuilding plans for those areas? I think literally just to rebuild. I mean, usually when you're starting, you normally start with infrastructure. So you need to get the infrastructure in so that you can clear all the areas that need clearing. You can salvage things that need salvaging, because of course rebuilding is so expensive. You know, if you can salvage things, I think that's really important. And then you need to start with you know, hospitals, schools, houses. I mean, really, you know, everything that's decimated needs rebuilding, and I'm sure they will have a proper plan in place. Moonmom713 says, is there any news on when Meghan is moving to London and if her dogs have been cleared to come into the country? Dogs possibly getting pet passports to travel. When I looked into the story, there wasn't any shred of evidence that that had actually happened. It didn't even say that it was from a source. So that could be a classic piece of fake news. And of course, we know that Meghan does have dogs. And of course, if she was moving to the UK, she would have to get them pet passports to be transferred to the UK. So in terms of, you know, is it likely that would happen? Well, if she's going to move to the UK, yes. But is there any shred of evidence that it's happened? No. So I haven't covered that as a story because I like to make sure that if I post something that it's true and it's accurate, and I couldn't say for sure whether that was true. Although if she's moving to the UK, well, she's moving to the UK, it is highly likely that she'll be taking all the appropriate steps to allow her dog's entry into the UK. James Med4 says Prince William will take over what Prince Charles does now with the Prince's Trust and Duchy of Cornwall. Well, we think so. We think he might. Of course, he will inherit the duchy as the heir to the throne. You know, we think he'll be conferred as Prince of Wales, and it would make sense that he took on the Prince's Trust. And you continue. He has young children with Catherine. Being king will come in time. I completely agree. The first Mrs. R says, is it true that Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth doesn't care for facial hair? I know that in the past, Prince Philip, Charles, Andrew and William all briefly sported beards in their younger days. To be honest, I'm not entirely sure if she does like beards. I've never seen her with one. No, I'm not entirely sure. I would really like to know. In fact, that's probably one of the questions, if you were interviewing the Queen, if you were lucky enough, one of those light-hearted questions you could ask her. If you dare, although you may get one of her looks. I know she gives a good look if you ask that question. So the I go personal opinion on facial hair, but all the other royals you mentioned didn't have facial hair long. So I'm imagining that she may have given an opinion on it. But Prince Harry has lasted with the beard. He's persevered. Will he shave it if he gets married? Well, only time will tell. And the bit I'm talking about was September 2015, and she opened a new train line, which was the Scottish Borders engagement, and that's the day she became the longest reigning monarch. And I think it is the light blue with dark blue features, and that's what I meant by the different colour blue. And yes, it was the one I showed you earlier. So if anyone's watching, I would love to see the Scottish Borders longest reigning monarch outfit again. James Medford says, well said on Charles the Conscientious. Can we get that trending on Twitter? Hashtag Charles the Conscientious. Go. Nurse Nana says, hello Elliot, hello to Nurse. Vinnie Blair says, Prince Harry will not shave his beard unless his hair grows back. It's here to stay. Plus, he is so handsome with a beard. I have to concur. I do like the beard. I think he should keep it. And Jamie's coming up with, you could also have Charles the Chocolate Eater or Charles the Chumpy. Charles the Chumpy. I don't think we'll go with that one. Let's stick with Charles the Conscientious. Luhari TV says, I'm sorry to say this, but this isn't an important subject. Let's talk about poverty in the streets of England. That's a problem. Well, I think poverty on the streets of anywhere is a problem. But I think with any kind of social issue, you have to ask the question about, or really get to the bottom of why there is poverty in an area before you can really tackle it. And I'm afraid I'm not party to that kind of information as to why there are, large tracts of poverty, the underlying problem. And I don't think it's just as simple as they haven't got enough money. I don't think that's, I don't think it's as simple as that. There are large social problems involved in all, not just, the UK and, all over the world. There is poverty and homelessness, and we have to get to the real root of the problem before we can ever begin to actually properly tackle it. And I'm not entirely sure we have got to the root core of the problem. Ohio says, I agree with Vinny. I like Prince Harry's beard. He also has a boyish face. In my view, I think he looks very mature and nice with it. Well, David Penner says, does Her Majesty donate money to charities, and what is her favourite charities? In terms of charity, no, she actually gives to when things pop up like tragedies. Things have been announced that she's donated a personal amount of money to these different issues. I can't remember when the very last one was, but usually a statement is released to say that she's donated an amount. They don't usually say how much. It's normally an anonymous amount, but that will come from her own personal wealth, not from any public money. Like I say, it's whenever there's usually something big and impactful that's happened. Prince Charles does the same too, and I think Prince Harry and William have been known to do the same. So the answer is yes, they do give to charities, although it's unsure quite the amount. The first Mrs. R says, I'd asked Prince Charles about the facial hair. I'd not asked the Queen. For some reason, I think he'd be amused, but she might not be. Well, the Queen does have a good sense of humour. I'm sure Chris will probably confirm that. Although I know she gives a good look. Christine says, do you think the Queen keeps journals like Queen Victoria? Yes. I know that the Queen does like to keep journals. And of course, they won't be made public anytime soon. James Medford says, Harry reminds me of what Henry VIII must have looked like long ago. In his younger days, quite possibly. Jamie said, Charles the crowd cheerer upper. What a moniker. Melody says, I think when Charles is king, the royal family will be regarded as a team, more so than with the Queen's children. David Penner says, Charles the boring one. I don't think he's boring. He's quite controversial, and that's exciting. He's not boring. He's been controversial for years. The first Mrs. R says, I like Charles the conscientious. I also like Charles the compassionate. I think either one would suit him. Jamie says, MP Elliot mode triggered. Yes, there you go. That was my political mode, talking about the social issues on the street. I didn't know I changed modes. Was it that obvious? Ohio says, Ohari TV, Britain has Commonwealth. You're probably going to need to keep good relations with them. Continuity Charles, another moniker suggested by Jamie. Moon Mom 713 says, I think Meghan must like the beard, or Harry would have shaved it by now. I presume she does. The first Mrs. R says, along the lines of royal monikers, what do you think Queen Elizabeth referred to in future generations? Ooh, good question. Elizabeth the Great, Elizabeth the Modern, Elizabeth the Wise. Let me think about that one. I think, well, I mean, she's, ooh, Elizabeth the Steady. What about Elizabeth the Steady? In fact, actually, Elizabeth was definitely Queen of Continuity. Although then again, she's also, you know, served over one of the biggest changes, probably socially, that there's ever been. So yeah, that's a tough one. Elizabeth the Steady, I think, is a good one for her. Chris Jagger says, would you like a short story about the Queen speaking to the Seg? Yes. Page 127, paragraph 2 in quotations. Starts, we stood lined up waiting. Ends with, she chuckled and a sparkle in her eye. I will find that in a moment. Jamie says, I think the idea of a royal family team is very true, and I think that what Charles wants is a slimmed down, value for money monarchy, and to gain from the younger royals' popularity. I think that's true, although I think he'll find it slightly more difficult when most of the old guard has gone. I think he'll find there's a lot of work and a lot of slack will be created that needs to be filled. And that's when I do think the Blood Princesses, Eugenie and Beatrice, will come in. I think in a way, if he wants the same amount of output from the royal family, that he'll have to. James Medford says, Chris, does Her Majesty give you a nod or a smile of thanks after the escorting ends? Good question. Vinny says, Steadfast has a better ring. I agree. Elizabeth the Steadfast. Or Steadfast Lizzie. Steadfast Lizzie, let's go with that. Hashtag Steadfast Lizzie. Chris Tiger says, James, Her Majesty expresses her appreciation for the work of the state in many different ways, sometimes personal and sometimes official. Okay, I'm going to look for that story. Page 127. Okay, I'm going to read this little short excerpt, and it's from the 1990s. And it's under the story Meeting the Monarch, but it's only a small portion. Okay, we were stood lined up waiting for Her Majesty. Hours had been spent polishing our bikes, tucking away loose wires and hiding radio cables so as to make them look as smart as possible. We knew the Queen wasn't very keen on our whistles. She preferred us to keep a low profile and remain as quiet as possible, whilst we were at work escorting her. One of the household staff suggested we took the whistles well out of sight. We normally had them hanging from our tunics. Smart and well prepared, we were ready to meet Her Majesty the Queen. Her Majesty slowly walked along our line, asking questions and thanking us for our work. First in line, I smiled eagerly and exchanged a handful of polite words with the Queen. She moved along the line, and I glanced at my fellow officers. The last officer in the line had forgotten to hide the whistle, oh no, which was hanging from a silver chain attached to his breast pocket. On sight of the instrument, the Queen said, ah, so you're the one that blows that loud whistle. To which he responded, no, ma'am, I'm the one who forgot to hide it from you. She chuckled with a sparkle in her eye. There we go. So whistles are her beastly creatures. Hello. Aha, it's back. There we go. Okay, it's back. I'm not sure what it is. I keep having a little fiddle with something on the screen and it kind of puts it back. So I'm not sure what I was talking about when the sound went. Oh no, I was probably saying something good as well. Always happens when that happens. I was talking about the ceremonies, and I was saying that I hope for occasions such as the coronation, Charles's coronation, that things aren't changed too much. I'd like to see a coronation on the same scale as Queen Elizabeth II, with all the extra seating installed in the Abbey. I don't think there'll be a change to, for example, Trooping the Colour. I think that will stay kind of the same. So I'm hoping that there are no changes to any of the traditional royal pomp. Okay. Chris Dragos says, good question, Jamie. The SEG are responsible for escorting all visiting heads of state to London. They use the same system of escorting for all heads of state, with one exception, the US president. I didn't know that. What's different about the US president? In the case of the US, they escort together with the Secret Service. And you know what? I think I vaguely do remember something about that. A much bigger convoy, including US security teams, but still under the control of the SEG. And I know that when US heads of state have visited before, that they've brought their own armoured car, for example. And there was that one famous bit of footage of the car trying to reverse in a really tight spot, and they just about made it. That was quite entertaining. Jen says, when are you putting up your Christmas tree? I normally do it the first week of December. When do you do yours? Let me know in the comment section below. Carol Johnson says, hi Elliot from the University Heights, Cleveland, Ohio. Hello to you. And Ohio says, you should be a silent screen actor. You could put flashcards and dramatic music. That would be quite entertaining too. And very on trend. Jamie says, Jamie is doing some good modding. And everyone, I'd love you to just thank Jamie just for a moment for doing a really good job with the moderating of this channel. He tends to get rid of all the bad comments before I even get to them. I never even actually see them anymore. So thank you, Jamie, for all the hard work you're doing. Peter Tor says, hi Elliot from Winters, California, I think that is. Love your channel. Thank you so much, and thank you for watching. Jen says, you put yours up the day after Thanksgiving. Well, around the first week of December for me, definitely. Oh, by the way, speaking of hashtags earlier, the hashtag was going around fake royalty news. If you do want to laugh, go to Twitter and type in hashtag fake royalty news, and you will get lots of fake royalty facts. And there are some very entertaining ones. I made a video on some of them, so do go and have a look. It's worth going to have a look just for a laugh. For those of you who asked, I know lots of you have asked over several weeks what Pippa Middleton was up to. And I haven't made lots of videos about her because all we see is her on her bike out and about in London. She hasn't really done much. But this week, she did go makeup free. So I made a video about that, just so for you guys who want to know what she's up to, there was a video. So what did you think? Is Pippa a natural beauty makeup free? What do you think? Should Catherine go makeup free? Also today, well not today, last week, Kirtley Beale of the Wallabies posted the photo of the year of Prince William and himself wearing a pair of very short swimming trunks, or budgie smugglers, as they're often referred to. Do you think that was the photo of the year? Did you see the video? Go and watch it. Let me know what you think in the comment section on that video. And also, it was Prince Charles's 69th birthday. So happy birthday to you, for your birthday that's gone. So it's the big one next year, 70. I wonder what he'll be doing for his 70th. Will he be having a party? Will I be invited? Please invite me, somebody. And the Queen was in Hull this week. My father was in Hull on the same day that the Queen was there. He didn't get to see her. She visited Siemens, a factory, and the University of Hull. And of course, Hull is the city of culture. So of course, she was doing a lot of work to promote that. She looked really good, really happy, radiant, I think you could probably say. So if you want to know what she was up to in Hull, there's also some real life video footage in that video, so do go and take a look. And of course, she arrived on the Royal Train, which was very interesting. So if you want to see the Queen stepping off the Royal Train, do go and check out that video. Luhari TV says, "You England people are such a nice people. Keep up the good work." Thank you so much. Lots of people saying thank you to Jamie for doing a great job with the modding. Hello to SMD Mond from Los Angeles, California. And Jamie, another suggestion for Elizabeth the Modern. James Medford says, "Chris, as you may already know, in the US, Her Majesty is given the highest regard when she does state visits, as the UK being such a steadfast ally." Lots more people saying thank you to Jamie. Luhari TV says, "When is England going to be out of the Europe? How long is a piece of string?" The first Mrs. R says, "I thought of one cool thing. If or when Meghan becomes or engaged to Prince Harry, she'll get to take that nifty defensive driving course." She will indeed. Yes, she will. Which I'm sure she'll be good at. Joe Bob says she's the queen of longevity. That's a tricky word. The queen of longevity. Over a most changing world. She was indeed. Makeup, in your opinion? I think she did look like a natural beauty, and of course we're talking about Pippa. Melody says, "I think Pippa looks healthy and strong, very inspirational." Jamie says, "The Queen always looks radiant. If she didn't, Angela Kelly didn't do a good job." And of course, Angela always does a good job. Finny Blair says, "I really don't care about Pippa. And no, keep the makeup." Also, Catherine, keep it, at least a little makeup. Christine says, "Where does the Queen attend church when in London?" Well, she spends most of her weekends at Windsor, so she pretty much always sends them there. There is, of course, the Chapel Royal in London, which is often used too. Jamie says, "You can see MP mode immediately. You should put a cap on when you go into it. Make Britain great again." I'll have to. I don't like hats. They squash my hair. Luhari TV says, "How did you grow your beard?" I just didn't shave. Jamie says, "Elizabeth the Magnificent." That's good. We need an E word. Elizabeth it needs to begin with an E, but I can't think of any at the moment. Jen says, "He grew the beard without shaving." Thank you. Joe Bob says, "Thank you, Jamie. We appreciate you." And yes, thank you. If ever you did want to send me anything, a letter. I mean, I am looking for pen pals as well. Christmas card, anything you want to send. I do have a PO Box address, and it is Royal Reviewer YouTube, PO Box 791, Telford, which is TELFORD, and the postcode is TF79GB. And if you want to see the link to that, you can see it in the description of this video. So just do go and check that out. Okay, now I'm just going to check my diary to see if we have anything really good coming up. in the coming weeks. Oh, 29th of November is Savannah Phillips' 7th birthday, and the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge will be in Finland. So there's an upcoming date for the diary. And also, I still have a Patreon account. And if you want to be a patron on Patreon, which means that you support the Royal Reviewer channel by leaving a tip, a monthly tip. But you also get rewards for doing that. For example, access to an exclusive Facebook group. If you're a $10 a month or over subscriber, you get a personalized handwritten birthday card and signed photo from myself. And you also get a Christmas card, handwritten and signed by me. So if you're interested, and also I post exclusive things on Patreon too, that only patrons do check out. Do type in Royal Reviewer and you will find me on there. I also have the link in the description. Chris Jagger says various churches, but she has one at her home at Windsor Castle, St George's Chapel. Peter Tor says, Jamie and Elliot, I'm lifting my cup of Taylor's Yorkshire tea. Always celebrate with a cup of tea. Carol says, Elizabeth the Equestrian. And of course, she does love her horses. James Medford says, during Ascot, there are bets on what colour the Queen will wear. You can make a fortune with your predictions. Do you know what we could? We should all have, on the next time we come up to Ascot, we should perhaps do a group bet. What do you think? Moon Mom 713 says, Elizabeth the Everlasting. Johari TV says, I know, where do you live? I live in Shropshire, which is kind of close to the Welsh border. Skyline says, which members of the royal family have I seen in person? Actually, none. I haven't seen any in person, but I really would like to. Johari TV says, what do I think about the King of Morocco? I'm afraid I don't know too much about him to pass comment. Nina Shaw says, good night, everyone. See you next week. Good night to you. And Chris says, thank you for allowing me to participate in your live chat. Very kind. It was fun. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for sending me the copy of your book. And I will do a proper full review in due course once I've had time to read it. And of course, I'll let you know when I do so that you can be here. Jamie is very handily and helpfully put my PO Box address in the chat. So Royal Reviewer, YouTube, PO Box 791, Telford, TF7 9GB. Cheryl says, does the Duchess Catherine, or rather the Duchess of Cambridge, get much time now to spend with her sister and brother? And of course, none of us know what she does with her personal time, although we know that they are both based in London, Catherine and Pippa. So I would imagine that they do visit each other's houses. Pippa is currently undergoing an extension on her £17 million London mansion. Jamie says, Peter, you're lifting your pint of business to you. Nina says, thank you for being here, Chris. Chris says, nice to meet you, Nina. Catch you at my Facebook page. Do go check it out. Jamie says, go to the mall centre and ask how many stamps. Yes, if you're sending from abroad, overseas, not in the UK, do go to your postal office and they will advise you on how many stamps you need. Moonmom says, can I put the address in the comments? It will be in the description of the video when the video is processed after this live chat finishes. So do go and check. Also check any of my videos, any of my recent videos, and the address is there too. Peter Tor says, can we all get together again and celebrate the news of Meghan and Harry when the news comes forth? Don't worry, I will be probably doing a special when they do. Luhari TV says, if I was a king of England, what would I change? Well, I wouldn't be able to change anything because the monarch can't themselves technically change anything. They have to sign off the laws that are made in the Houses of Parliament by the government. So it's the government that make the laws and the monarch signs them into law. So if the monarch refused to sign or tried to make up their own laws, that would cause a constitutional crisis. And I don't think that's likely to happen. Jamie thinks Harry and Meghan's announcement is coming within the next week or two. You could be right. It could be imminent. Lots of people are thinking a December announcement. Some people are thinking possibly after Christmas. But I'm still sticking with December for now. Aggie says you are too cute. Who's too cute? Do let me know. Vinny Blair says, haha, a special. I like that. Breaking news. Yes, well, it will be. Let's hope it's a day when I'm available to do it. Knowing them, they'll probably do it on a day I'm not. Peter Dorr says, maybe from Sandringham. Francesca B says, do I have an Instagram page? Yes, I do. Royal Reviewer on Instagram. Jamie says, I said pint of Guinness. I auto-corrected to business. Well, I didn't know it was Guinness. The Irish, they think Guinness is your business. I think Guinness is your business too. Luhari TV says, what if all this world is going to die tomorrow? What's the last thing I would want to do? Well, that's a very good question to ask. What would I want to do if the world was ending tomorrow? I would want to swim in a tropical sea. That's what I'd like to do. Swim in a tropical sea. What would you want to do? Peter loves Guinness and understands Jamie fully. Okay, so I'm going to end tonight's chat here. Thank you for all being amazing. Thank you so much for Chris for popping into chat and for donating the book. I am definitely going to read it. It seems really interesting. And there's a few more questions coming through. Before I go, I'll finish. James Medford says, Elliot, can you please put the royal standard up again? You miss it. Okay, I will. And if the world was ending tomorrow, Jamie would watch this chat. Janet is a big fan from Oregon. Hello to you. And Luhari would like to drive an Airbus, is that? And Odia says, I get the impression that Charles is really dissed the York girls. He doesn't seem to want to put them on the payroll. At some point, I think he'll have no choice because there'll be too much work going spare. Okay, so I'm going to end tonight's chat. Thank you so much for watching. I will be here next week as well. Every Saturday, live 10 o'clock GMT. And of course, you can always watch any part of this that you've missed on catch up, because this video goes live almost immediately once it's processed after I stop the chat. So thank you for watching. Have an amazing week, and join me next week. So from me in Shropshire, goodbye.